Our podcast lead presenter David Bockwell has 30 years of certification assessment experience and has undertaken over 7,000 days of certification assessment. He worked full-time for BSI as operations manager for 10 years before setting up his own business carrying out independent certification assessment over the last 20 years with 19 accredited certification bodies. ISO Builder is a registered trademark of Bockwell Limited. All online content is protected by international copyright and the Trademarks Act 1994. ISO Builder Online is not responsible, liable, nor necessarily support views as expressed by our podcast presenters in any way. They are their own interpretation and views. We accept no liability for any content. Patrons should always source confirmatory opinions regarding interpretations of management systems in relation to their own situation and intended use. No content is intended to be offensive in any way.
This session is on ISO 9001 2015 Management Review. The requirements in the standard are quite clear. Top management shall review the organisation's quality management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness. And also an additional requirement since previous issues of the standard has included alignment with the strategic direction of the organisation, which takes us back to policy and commitment. So essentially, management review is a culmination of outputs from the management system, in this case the quality management system. Management systems are built up of processes that align with the requirements of the standard, determined by the organisation, and typically processes produce outputs. And those outputs are usually in the form of records of documented information. So as the system produces outputs, they become inputs into the management review. So in that respect, we think about what is the management system producing that then becomes an input into the management review. So having considered the event management review and the top management shall, something takes place with top management involved to ensure that the management system is suitable, adequate and effective and is aligned. And a management review agenda would typically be produced. And 9.3.2 effectively is the agenda. The management review shall be planned and carried out taking into consideration the following: the status of actions from previous management reviews, changes in external and internal issues that are relevant to the quality management system, information on the performance and effectiveness of the quality management system, including trends in the following: customer satisfaction, feedback from relevant interested parties, the extent to which the quality objectives have been met, process performance and conformity of products and services, non-conformities and corrective actions, monitoring and measurement results, audit results, the performance of external providers. In addition, the adequacy of resources, the effectiveness of actions taken to address risk and opportunities, and opportunities for improvement. So there is our agenda. So quite easily to copy and paste that into our agenda, which forms the basis of a good management review. So let's have a think about some of the issues around management review and different interpretations we get from particularly a certification perspective. Frequency, for example, how often should management review take and be? Many organisations land on annual. Some try to suggest that the management review is in fact continuous. Most organisations would go for annual, although more than annual is often offered. Occasionally, less than annual is also offered. And it really is about the size, scale and complexity of the organisation, because it may actually be a better plan to have intermediate reviews. Typically, as financial years and cycles of internal audit and cycles of other things, objectives and targets for quality, become quite key. That the management review should really sit at the end so that the closure of the cycles can effectively output with a full picture in relation to suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the management system. So at the end of your audit cycle, at the end of objectives and targets cycle, and we're not talking about environment and health and safety at the moment, but there are additional elements in there that are also likely to be in cycles, such as legal compliance review and evaluation of compliance, to name just a couple. So for quality, it's good practice, and I would say the majority of organisations carry out a formal management review to satisfy the requirements of ISO 9001 on an annual basis. However, there may be some organisations, say based on size, scale and complexity, that choose to have 11 intermediate reviews or a 6-month point intermediate review, and they simply ensure that as many management reviews following the same approach, that the management review, when it actually takes place, the formal management review, as I would term in uppercase, in bold, underlined and in red, is actually the management review that would be offered to satisfy suitability, adequacy and effectiveness of the management system. So that also might align with the requirements of the financial year for the organisation, because there may be outputs from the management review that require actions, including financial actions, that need to be inputted into the forward financial year, such as training or equipment or plant or anything that requires funding or capex. So it's not a bad practice to actually align so that the management review actually takes place not just at the end of the cycles, but prior to the financial year or to the budget set. So that might actually drive in terms of financial year when the management review takes place. And in many cases, it's actually easier to change the cycles and the management review than it is to change the cycle of the management of the organisation's financial year. So typically, thinking about the headings that we ran through, one of the interesting ones for me is the status of actions from the previous management review. Now, if that's been carried out 12 months previous, then very often people who sat in a management review can't even remember what happened at the last management review 12 months ago, never mind whether actions from that review have actually been updated or fulfilled in any way. So it may well be that the process that's determined for management review, determining who should be there, the frequencies, whether it should be 11 intermediates and an actual, or 1 6 monthly, or just simply an annual, would be determined in a process. So within that process, you may find that it's useful to actually lay a 4-week closure or a closure window on findings or actions that are actually identified within a management review. So whoever chairs the management review might look for feedback in relation to actions within a set period of time to ensure that actually not only are the actions fulfilled or progressed, but when it comes to the forward management review, the following management review, there's good evidence that actions have actually been delivered upon. So the management review produces outputs, and those outputs essentially are include decisions and actions relating to opportunities for improvement, any need for change to the quality management system, resources needed, and also finally, just to close the loop, the organisation is required to maintain documented information as evidence of the results of management review. So that feeds back into documented information in terms of record control, document control and record control. Record control, of course, including identification, indexing, filing, storage, maintenance and disposition, retention periods of said record, in this case, management review. So I think what we've probably done there is captured the essence of a quality management systems management review. Just to summarise, the management system produces outputs, they become inputs into the management review, and then the management review produces outputs which need to be actioned to help support the principles of demonstrate continuing suitability, adequacy and effectiveness, but also underpinning the principles of continual improvement. So I hope that session's helped, and we'll produce another one on management review for ISO 14000 and for ISO 45000. Thanks for listening.
ISO Builder Online, quality information for quality managers. ISO Builder is a registered trademark of Balkwell Limited. All online content is protected by international copyright and the Trademarks Act 1994. ISO Builder Online is not responsible, liable, nor necessarily support views as expressed by our podcast presenters in any way. They are their own interpretation and views. We accept no liability for any content. Patrons should always source conformatory opinions regarding interpretations of management systems in relation to their own situation and intended use. No content is intended to be offensive in any way. Balkwell Limited, Management Systems Consultancy Audit and Training. Contact us by email, davidbalkwell@balkwellltd.com or office@balkwellltd.com. Established in 1999.